Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Dr. Amara Kazi and my moderator is Dr. Kaleem, and today we are going to discuss the topic of lower urinary tract catheterization. The objectives of my presentation will be the anatomic considerations, indications for the lower urinary tract drainage, its technique, suprapubic catheterization, the difficult catheterization, and the complications associated with the lower urinary tract drainage. First of all, considering the anatomy of the male, we'll see it's a hollow tube that is measuring around 18 to 20 centimeter in length, divided into the anterior and the posterior urethra. The anterior urethra is further subdivided into the pendulous or the penile urethra and the bulbar urethra. The pendulous or the penile urethra is surrounded by the corpus spongiosum muscle, and the bulbar urethra is surrounded by the bulbospongiosus muscle. It's 16 centimeter in length. And the posterior urethra is the shorter one, 4 centimeter in length, and consists of the membranous urethra and the prostatic urethra. The average male meatus can accommodate a instrument or the catheter of size around 24 French, and the bulbar and the prostatic urethra, being the widest part of the male urethra, can accommodate the instrument of or the catheter of around 32 French, and the bladder neck can accommodate a catheter or instrument of 28 French. Now, the female anatomy of the urethra. The female urethra is comparatively smaller than the male urethra, measuring around 4 centimeter in length, presenting anterior to the vagina, and on an average, female urethra can accommodate an instrument or catheter of around 22 French. Now, we are discussing the indications of the lower urinary tract that are divided into the therapeutic indications and the diagnostic indications. Among the therapeutic indications comes the drainage. In cases of an acute renal retention secondary to BPH, clot retention, or these strictures, the drainage is required. An emergency drainage can be done that will allow the clinician time for to plan for the definitive procedures. If the patient presents to you with the hematuria, then the bladder irrigation can be done. The therapeutic indications include the intravesical treatments. For example, in the cases of bladder cancer, installation of the BCG and MMC is done, and that requires the perurethral catheterization. In cases of interstitial cystitis, sulfomethoxazide is given, dimethyl sulfoxazide is given for the installation of the medicine. Other indications include the extraperitoneal bladder injury, and the small vesicovaginal fistulas can be managed well by the perurethral catheterization. The diagnostic indications include collection of the sterile sample of the urine. In cases of the bladder trauma, urethral trauma, it helps in performing the cystogram, retrograde urethrogram, and flexible and rigid cystoscopy is the type of perurethral catheterization, and the various lower urinary tract pathologies can be diagnosed by doing flexible and rigid cystoscopy, as well as it helps in the urodynamic studies to measure the residual volume for the filling of the bladder, and in order to place the sensor to measure the diffuser pressures. So, based on in cases of where you suspect the bladder cancer, the catheterization can be done to collect the cytology as well. The contraindications are divided into the absolute and the relative one. In the absolute contraindications, the perurethral catheterization should be avoided in cases of urethral injury, bladder neck closure, or repair. And in the relative contraindications, recent urethral surgery, urethral strictures, and artificial urinary. In cases of artificial urinary sphincter, the perurethral catheterization should be avoided. Now we are going to discuss about the techniques of urethral catheterization. Before proceeding with the techniques, we should know what the sterilization kit should contain. There should be presence of sterile gloves, catheter, sterile lubricant, antiseptic solution, sterile drapes, sterile water, and collection bag with the tubing. Before passing the catheter, it is important to check the balloon if it's inflating or deflating well, and there should be the penis. The sterile antiseptic solution should be placed on the cotton balls or swabs, and the sterile field is created by draping the patient with the sterile drapes. Now, the male urethral catheterization. For first of all, the position is important. The male is usually placed in the supine position. The glands should be sterilized. If the penis is uncircumcised, then the foreskin is retracted and the glands is pinched dorsally to prevent dorsally. 10 to 15 ml of the sterile lubricant are slowly injected directly into the meatus, and the glands is then pinched to avoid the expulsion of the lubricant from the urethra. The catheter is then gently passed into the meatus while the penis is pulled straight and taut. The slow steady pressure is continued until the catheter is completely positioned and the balloon port is at the level of the meatus. The balloon is then filled with the sterile water and the catheter is pulled distally for the proper placement. The balloon shouldn't be inflated until unless the catheter reach to the meatus, even if you see the return of the urine before that. And if you have seen that the catheter has passed beyond the bladder neck, you are sure about that, and still there is no in the urine is present in the catheter, then you have to, the catheter pores might get blocked by the lubricant jelly, then you have to flush the catheter with the sterile saline or water to open its drainage channel. Female urethral catheterization is comparatively easier than the male catheterization. The female patient is placed in the frog-leg position, and the thumb, pointer, and middle finger is used for the spreading of the labias of the non-dominant hand. The catheter is lubricated with a sterile lubricant, and the catheter is inserted gently into the meatus. Once urine is returned, the balloon port is filled with the sterile water. We are going to briefly discuss about the classification of the catheters. It's depend over the size, channels, either two-way or three-way, tip design, straight tip, cowrie tip, that is the angulated one, or the whistle tip. One type is the council tip catheter as well, which has a bore at the tip of the catheter.
Question.
Yes.
Why should be catheter should not be advanced if we are seeing the urine is coming? Why we should wait that the catheter should be inserted up till the junction, the Y junction? Why is it so?
The reason behind that is you might have some urine in the urethra as well. If you have before inserting the catheter completely up till the meatus, if you have inflated the balloon before that, you might rupture the urethra. The reason behind that is that only, a very simpler one, nothing much. On the material, latex, silicone, and the color coding. These are the color coding of the catheters, and we are very much well aware of it. The catheter selection should be done according to the age of the patient. In patient less than 5 years of age, 5 to 8 French catheter is used. In 5 to 10 years, 8 to 10 French, and for 10 to 14, the 10 French catheter, and for greater than 14 years, 10 to 14 French catheters can be used. For the desired drainage, the 12 to 14 French catheter is enough for the clear urine, and for the drainage of the thick pus or hematuria, 22 24 French catheters are used. The topic now we are going to discuss is suprapubic catheterization, and there are various indications for the SP catheterization in which we cannot access the urethra. The indications include urethral trauma, urethral strictures, and patient requiring prolonged drainage, but they cannot undergo any major urological procedure, so they require prolonged drainage. In that case, SP catheterization is done to avoid the erosions and the strictures, and for performing the voiding urethrograms. The techniques for the suprapubic catheterization include open cystostomy, trocar technique, and the Seldinger technique. First of all, we are going to discuss open cystostomy. This procedure is usually performed under general anesthesia or sedation. The bladder is distended according to the bladder capacity of the patient. Then the small incision is made around 1 finger breadth, similar to the pubic symphysis, and the retractors are used to expose the rectus fascia. After incising the rectus fascia, the rectus muscles are split, and the stitches are taken over the bladder to lift it towards the incision. Then a small incision is made into the bladder, and any catheter can be placed and anchored to the bladder, and the catheter is then secured with the permanent suture to the skin. Similarly, alternatively, a trocar technique is used after incising the skin. When the rectus fascia become apparent, you can use a trocar, which is usually of the stainless steel, and after removing the obturator, you can insert a catheter through the sheet. Other is the Seldinger technique. The Seldinger technique is a guide wire technique in which the site of puncture is 2 to 4 centimeter cephalate to the pubic symphysis, and this site will be instilled with the local anesthesia, because it's generally performed under local anesthesia. Then the small incision is made in the skin, 21 with the 21 gauge needle. You will advance it in the vertical direction to reach the bladder, and then the guide wire is passed through the needle. Guide wire is removed, and the counsel tip catheter will then be placed over the guide wire after dilatation or after incising the fascia. And after that, the catheter will be secured by filling the balloon. We have some scenarios in which we face the difficulty for perurethral catheterization. And we commonly encounter all these things in our daily life, like for example in cases of prostatic or enlarged prostate, in cases of stricture urethra, urethral trauma, obesity, if the patient has underwent any lower urological procedure like a reconstruction, bladder replacement, new bladder, any continent urinary reservoir, urinary conduit, and or in cases of bladder neck reconstruction and closure. We are going to discuss them separately one by one. In cases of the prostatic obstruction, if there is if the patient presented to you with the acute urinary retention and you suspect him to be the case of enlarged prostate, then it's preferred to use a 18 French catheter with a cowrie tip. The reason behind that is the catheters with a smaller diameter like 14 French or 16 French are less stiffer and they have less surface area at their tip, so they are relatively difficult to be passed through the enlarged prostate rather than the catheters with the wide tip, 18 French. And the tip is again important. The Cowdy tip is basically created for the passage of catheter with in the patients with the enlarged prostate, because it favors the angle of the male urethra and it can negotiate the prostatic obstruction well. In cases if you during the catheterization you have found there is hematuria or the blood came into the catheter, then you should immediately remove the catheter, and because there is a suspicion of the false passage, so the cystoscopy done to pass the false passage, and this cystoscopy will allow the clinician to traverse the false passage, and the guide wire can then be placed into the bladder, and the catheter will then be placed over the guide wire. Other is the urethral stricture. If any patient with the history of trauma came to you with acute urinary retention and you suspect him to be the case of urethral stricture, then you can attempt a gently attempt perurethral catheterization. But if it fails, then a cystoscopy is done to pass the guide wire under the vision, and the urethral dilators can then be used over the guide wire to dilate the strictures. Whenever you dilate the urethra, you should always dilate it one size greater than the size of catheter you are going to be used, because the dilators are stiffer than the catheter material, which is more flexible. So some strictures are too dense to be dilated. In that case, you can place the SP tube in the emergent situation and then plan the patient for the definitive surgery. In cases of the urethral trauma, gentle passage of the catheter may be attempted, but if you feel the resistance, you shouldn't attempt it much, and you should immediately remove the catheter. And the primary endoscopic realignment can be done depending on the stability of the patient. And since it's an emergency situation, you have to relieve the patient, then SP catheterization should be done in the cases of urethral trauma. But in cases of the posterior urethral valves, the babies who are born with the posterior urethral valves, they should be immediately catheterized per urethral. So in that case, you can use a blunt tip 5 French catheter placed in the eyes. Then you anteriorly curve it to allow its easy passage through the to pass the anterior to the posterior urethral valves. And then alternatively, what can be done? The clinician can place the fourth finger in the newborn's rectum and guide the catheter anteriorly to pass the valves. And if both of the things goes unsuccessful, then the SP catheterization should be done. Obesity, basically the presence of the infrapubic excessive fat in the perineum. Infrapubic fat made the catheterization difficult in both the males and the females. In the females, you can require some other people for the help for the adequate retraction, and or you need to change the frog leg position into the trendy Landberg position. Two fingers or the two fingers of the clinician can be placed in the vagina while passing the catheter in that's how you can direct the catheter anteriorly into the urethra. In the obese males with the buried penis, the posterior force to the infrapubic area allow the clinicians to identify the meatus. Due to poor hygiene in the obese males or due to the urinary incontinence, you often encounter the phimosis. In that case, a dorsal incision in the foreskin can be made. Bladder replacement or new bladder In cases of bladder replacement or new bladder, perurethral catheterization should be avoided, and if it got failed, then an SP tube can be placed, usually through an old SP track, because the patient in the because the skin has because the track has retracted to the anterior abdominal wall skin, and you can avoid the gut injury if you go through the old SP track favorably under ultrasound guidance. In cases of quaternary urinary reservoir or an Indiana pouch, basically Indiana pouch is a bladder that you created with the right colon, swing it into the J shape, and then a channel is given in the right lower quadrant for the catheterization. Where in this case, if the reservoir got overfilled, there is a kink in the channel, and for that you can use a 21 gauge needle to decompress it. Once the bladder got decompressed, the channel will no more be kinked, and you can catheterize the channel. And if you suspect, we should always avoid the forceful catheterization through the channel, because you can create the false passage and you can perforate that channel. So if the false passage is suspected, then the flexible cystoscope or ureteroscope can be used to traverse the false passage and gain access to the reservoir with a guide wire. Then a catheter placed over a guide wire for 1 to 2 weeks for healing. In cases of the urinary conduit, the catheter is indicated in cases of peristomal hernia obstructing the lumen of the conduit, urinary extravasation from the conduit, or conduit stenosis. We do not fill the balloon, rather we take a permanent stitch to secure the catheter in order to avoid obstruction of the ureters. In cases of bladder neck closure and reconstruction, it is an absolute contraindication for the perurethral catheterization. In cases of the bladder neck reconstruction, if the patient requires the drainage, you can do the suprapubic catheterization. Again, the same thing, through an old SP track and under ultrasound guidance preferred in order to avoid the gut injury. And in cases of urethral neck closure, it's it's contraindicated, because if you forcefully pass the catheter, you can create a fistula, and you can make the patient incontinent. This is a algorithm for the difficult urinary perurethral catheterization. For if your primary attempt to pass the perurethral catheter got failed, and you suspect the patient to be of secondary to have obstruction due to the prostate, Then you attempt the 18 French Cowrie tip catheter. Previously told you the reason of why 18 French Cowrie tip catheter. If that went unsuccessful too, then cystoscopy is performed to traverse the false passage, and then you keep the guide wire and you pass the counsel tip catheter over the guide wire. And in case of the stricture, after placing the guide wire, dilatation is done, and then you after the dilatation pass the counsel tip catheter. For example, you are not suspecting the patient of prostatic obstruction, gently attempt the catheter of the smaller diameter. If it goes unsuccessful, you attempt to pass the glide wire. If it passed successfully, then it should be changed to the guide wire on the fire French catheter, and then you can place the counsel tip catheter over the guide wire. And if it went unsuccessful, the cystoscopy should be performed again the same thing. In case of a stricture, place the guide wire and proceed with dilatation and pass the catheter over the guide wire. And in case of the false passage, pass the counsel tip catheter over the guide wire. The complications associated with the lower urinary tract catheterization include infections, most commonly iatrogenic trauma. Iatrogenic trauma can occur in cases of enlarged prostate, stricture urethra. If you see due to trauma of the urethra, prostate, or the bladder, if you find there is a if there is a blood in the catheter, you should there is a suspicion you have created the false passage. The strictures can be present in 3.4% cases, and bladder neck and urethral erosion. It can lead to iatrogenic hypospadias, and there the associated complication of malignancy is reported in very few cases, and it's usually noticed in the patient with the spinal cord injuries who are on prolonged catheterization. And basically it's usually this squamous cell carcinoma, and we are still we are still conquering that how to like do the surveillance in the patients in which we are suspecting malignancy with the prolonged catheterization. Some says that after 8 years of prolonged catheterization, the yearly surveillance cystoscopy should be done. But the data hasn't much collected about it. The other complication is catheter knotting and balloon malfunction. And you know about the catheter knotting, that if the catheter has passed beyond the bladder neck, then it's a very rare complication that the catheter knot will occur. It will make difficult for the balloon to be deflated in future, and for that you pass the guide wire through the outflow channel to deflate the balloon. Under the ultrasound guidance using an LP needle, the balloon can be burst, and by the cystoscopy as well, cutting the, in case of catheter knotting, cutting the tip of the catheter. One of the other complications with the patients with long-term catheters include the stone formation that is reported in 46 to 53% of the cases. Thank you so much.
Dr. Amara?
Assalamu alaikum. Ji, Dr. Jalal.
What do you mean by catheter knotting?
Basically, Dr. Jalal, catheter knotting is when the catheter passes beyond the bladder neck, and there is a knot at the tip of the catheter beyond the balloon. So in the future, when you attempt to remove the catheter by deflating it, it will not allow the balloon channel to be deflated. So that is the catheter knotting.
So why the catheter knotting will occur?
अगर आपका कैथेटर जो है वो प्रॉपर प्लेसमेंट पे नहीं हो, उसका जो है it is passing beyond the bladder neck, then it has the chances to get knotted. It's a very rare complication, reported very rarely, but yes, it is among one of the complications, and we should know how to manage it. As I've told you before, that cystoscopy should be done, and a scissor is used to cut the tip of the catheter, and then you will remove the remnants of the catheter tip under cystoscopic guidance.